The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Anjana Dudamgoda and read by Rumesh Pires. The headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe assures an economic program aimed at empowering the youth is underway. Sri Lanka unveils roadmap to ease vehicle import restrictions by 2025. The government to establish 25 district industries promotion councils. The Postal Union end strike, 1.5 million items backlogged. Sri Lanka receives military equipment from US. Dengue cases spike in 7 districts. In foreign news, President Vladimir Putin says Russia will cease fire if Ukraine pulls troops from 4 regions. And in sports, Afghanistan storm into Super 8, New Zealand knocked out. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the need to cultivate a generation of youth equipped with the knowledge and training necessary to meet future challenges. He also highlighted that an economic program aimed at generating substantial income for the youth of the country is currently being implemented. President Wickremesinghe shared these thoughts during a meeting with members of the National Youth Corps at the Presidential Secretariat on Wednesday. During the event, NYC Director Brigadier Sujiva Ratnayaka presented a souvenir to President Wickremesinghe. Expressing his ideas further, President Wickremesinghe said it has been 22 years since the Youth Corps was established. It was originally designed to align with the economic and social systems of that era. However, the Youth Corps must evolve with the times. To ensure a prosperous future for our youth, we must also focus on improving their income opportunities. Necessary steps should be taken to adapt and transform the Youth Corps accordingly. The government is set to establish 25 district industries promotion councils covering the entire island in support of local micro, small and medium industries. The Cabinet of Ministers this week approved a proposal to establish the 25 promotional councils along with the appointment of a steering committee to determine their structures, roles and responsibilities. The proposal was brought forward to the Cabinet by Industries Minister Ramesh Patirana. The district councils aim to create a favourable environment for local SMEs facing various challenges. The 25 councils will form an easily accessible system for local MSMEs in order to provide them with institutional support and services at a district level. Following a 24-hour strike by postal workers reporting sick leave, the United Postal Workers Union announced the backlog of over 1.5 million postal items will be cleared within the next 48 hours. The union indicated the government has until 24th of June to address their demands, which include resolving issues related to employee recruitment. The strike, which ended at midnight on the 13th of June, caused disruptions in postal services across the country. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Your next generation digital banking partner, People's Bank.
Continuing with more local news. Sri Lanka yesterday received military equipment worth $3 million from the US. The announcement of the transfer was made at the Katunayake Air Base. A statement issued by the SLAF quoted Defence Attaché at the United States Embassy in Sri Lanka, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Nelson, as having said, today's $3 million equipment transfer marks another important milestone in a long-standing partnership with Sri Lanka. Enhancing Sri Lanka's security contributes to regional stability and peace, benefiting everyone. The Defence Attaché noted that they are proud to support initiatives that strengthen bilateral ties in ways that help Sri Lanka safeguard their waters, promote regional security and ensure the prosperity and safety of the Sri Lankan people. The Department of Health reports a rise in dengue cases across 7 districts: Colombo, Gampaha, Karuthara, Jaffna, Galle, Kandy and Kurunegala. In 2024, Sri Lanka has recorded 26,084 dengue patients, with the highest number 9,558 reported in the Western Province. 9 fatalities have also been reported this year. And that concludes local news.
Enjoy seamless shopping, open LCs, settle bills and transfer funds instantly, anywhere and anytime. With People's Bank Digital Solutions, you're empowered to do more whenever and wherever you want. Unlock a world of modern banking conveniences with People's Bank, your next generation digital banking partner. People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. The International Monetary Fund says Sri Lankan authorities have formulated an initial roadmap to ease restrictions on motor vehicle imports by 2025. This plan will commence with public, passenger and special purpose vehicles in the third quarter of 2024, followed by goods transport vehicles in the fourth quarter of the same year, with the remainder set to follow suit in 2025. A comprehensive plan detailing the tax implications and effects on reserve accumulations is slated for completion by 15th of June. Sri Lanka anticipates generating approximately 0.8% of GDP from the relaxation of import restrictions on motor vehicles. Moreover, Sri Lanka has pledged to devise a plan to eliminate remaining administrative balance of payments measures encompassing exchange restrictions, multiple currency practices and capital flow measures by the conclusion of May 2024. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, all vehicular movement will be limited near the Kohuvela intersection from tomorrow due to the ongoing construction work of the Kohuvela flyover. The construction work is expected to last for 2 months. Thus, motorists are advised to use alternate routes to avoid inconveniences during this period. Additionally, the entry of heavy vehicles travelling towards the Kohuvela bridge has been temporarily halted, according to police. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
And moving on to the bulletin of World News, first the headlines. President Vladimir Putin says Russia will cease fire if Ukraine pulls troops from 4 regions. G7 vows actions against unfair China business practices. Kenyan policeman shoots magistrate in court after ruling against his wife. Now the world news in detail. President Vladimir Putin said today that Russia would cease fire and enter peace talks if Ukraine dropped its NATO ambitions and withdrew its forces from the Ukrainian region claimed by Moscow. In the eve of a peace conference in Switzerland to which Russia has not been invited, Putin set out a series of conditions wholly at odds with the terms demanded by Ukraine. Leaders of the Group of 7 vowed on Friday to tackle what they called unfair business practices by China that were undermining their workers and industries, according to a draft statement on the final day of their annual summit. The G7 also warned of action against Chinese financial institutions that helped Russia obtain weaponry for its war against Ukraine. The leaders of Italy, the United States, Britain, Canada, France, Germany and Japan discussed concerns surrounding China's excessive industrial capacity that Western governments say is distorting local markets. A senior Kenyan police officer has been shot dead after he opened fire at a magistrate in court in the capital Nairobi. The chief inspector opened fire on Makadra Principal Magistrate Monica Kivuti shortly after she made a ruling in a case reportedly involving his wife. The officer is said to have been angered by the court's decision to cancel her bail after she had absconded. The officer, identified as Samson Kipruto, who's in charge of a police station in Londiani in western Kenya, then pulled out a gun and shot the magistrate, injuring her. Other officers in court responded immediately, with one of them shooting the offending policeman and killing him. Back to the headlines of the world news. President Vladimir Putin says Russia will cease fire if Ukraine pulls troops from 4 regions. G7 vows action against unfair China business practices. And in Kenyan policeman shoots magistrate in court after ruling against his wife. And that concludes World News.
Development News. Moving on to development news. Surya Shakti Limited has signed a power purchase agreement for the development of the 10-megawatt Vanatevu 2 solar power project in Batticaloa. Surya Shakti is a wholly owned subsidiary of Solar Universe Limited, a joint venture between
Vidulanka PLC, Windforce PLC and High Energy Services Limited. The Wanativu 2 solar project is expected to attract an investment of approximately 2.2 billion rupees. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
And in sports, it's cricket. Afghanistan booked their place in Super 8, thereby knocking New Zealand out of Men's T20 World Cup 2024 after a 7-wicket win over PNG in Tarabua. The win was set up by new ball spells from fast bowlers Fazal Haq Faruqi and Naveen ul Haq that saw PNG lose 5 wickets inside the power play. A total of 4 run-outs did not help PNG's cause either, as they were dismissed for 95. Afghanistan dropped home with 29 balls to spare, with Gulpadi Naib staying unbeaten on 49. The result meant that for the first time since 2014, New Zealand bowed out before the semi-final stage of a Men's World Cup ODI or T20. And that was sports news.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna aswahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Moving on to business news, Mercantile Investments and Finance PLC, a pioneering name in Sri Lanka's financial sector, celebrated its 60th anniversary in grand celebration at a press conference held today at the Jaik Hilton Hotel in Colombo. The event marked the unveiling of a commemorative stamp and the launch of an innovative new range of financial products, underscoring the company's unwavering commitment to innovation and growth. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna aswahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And in economic news, the International Monetary Fund says that there is sufficient progress for Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process to move forward. However, the IMF further said Sri Lanka's economy is still vulnerable and the path to debt sustainability remains knife-edged. Hence, the country needs to sustain the reform momentum. Meanwhile, joining the IMF press briefing on Sri Lanka's second review of EFF program held virtually this morning, IMF Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Bruce, stated that the IMF fully respect the democratic process for elections to take place in any country and they adapt to the relevant process. Furthermore, he mentioned that the elections may affect the timing of IMF's missions they conduct in order to discuss compliance with the program and reforms going forward. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, we move on to the weather report. The Meteorology Department says several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Strong winds of about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee, Hambantota and Monaragala districts. And that was the weather report. And now to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. President Ranil Wickremesinghe assures an economic program aimed at empowering the youth is underway. Sri Lanka unveils roadmap to ease vehicle import restrictions by 2025. The government to establish 25 district industries promotion councils. The Postal Union ends strike, 1.5 million items backlogged. Sri Lanka receives military equipment from US. Dengue cases spike in 7 districts. In foreign news, President Vladimir Putin says Russia will cease fire if Ukraine pulls troops from 4 regions. And in sports, Afghanistan storm into Super 8, New Zealand knocked out. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And back to your Friday evening's regular hostess, Saunti Tavam, to keep you company for the rest of the evening.